How does a man find his absolute bottom? It's not a single event. It's a collection of failures that lead him to wake up in a filthy alley, the rising sun feeling like a personal insult. His head is pounding, a dull, hammering ache. This is Harris. Opening his eyes, he's shocked to find a small girl lying on top of him for warmth. She jolts awake, terrified, and scrambles to her feet. She tries to explain herself in a rush of confused, nervous words. Harris isn't listening. His first instinct isn't compassion. It's inventory. This is the mind of a survivor, or perhaps a thief. He quickly checks his bag. His stomach drops. Only one coin left. The assumption is instant and brutal. The girl stole his money. He yells at her, his anger a mix of hangover and self-loathing. But the girl just trembles, insisting she didn't take anything. In his frustration, he grabs her shoulder and shakes her, a pathetic show of force against the only person in the world weaker than him. She bursts into tears, begging him to believe her. The guilt finally cuts through his anger. He stops. He asks, quieter this time, where the money went. Through her sobs, she tells him the truth. He spent it. On her. The words make no sense. Confused, Harris tries to remember. Slowly, the memories return, blurred by ale. The city was celebrating its annual festival. It had started so well. After a successful dungeon trip, Harris and his party sold their treasures. Enchanted jewels, blessing amulets, and a magic-resistant shield. The haul was massive, 25 gold coins. The team was thrilled, already talking about celebrating, but as the others planned to drink and enjoy the night, Harris distanced himself. He refused to join. Someone joked about him being a thief. He ignored it and went to a bar alone, blending into the crowd. He ordered an ale and quietly apologized to himself. He was a thief, wasn't he? This is the classic internal monologue of the support class. Scouts like him, who disarm traps, check chests, and track enemies, rarely get the respect of mages or fighters. They are essential, but invisible. He missed having real friendships. He wondered if he'd feel different if he were closer to someone like Elia or Isha. He dismissed the thought. Self-pity is a strong wall. Why would they be interested in someone like him? The bartender placed his drink down. He asked when her shift ended. She thought he was flirting, then apologized, saying she had to work until morning. Harris just nodded, finished his drink, and left, waving off the change. Outside, frustrated, he wondered if he really looked that rough. But with money still in his pocket, he headed to a high-class brothel. A guard at the entrance stopped him. When Harris said he wanted to buy a girl, the guard coldly told him the place only accepted gold. When Harris, drunk and angry, insisted, the guard punched him. He was told to leave. Drunk and furious, Harris wandered the streets with a bottle, annoyed at the festival joy around him. People laughed, but Harris felt only irritation. He bumped into a man and girl, got shoved aside. A shopkeeper scolded him for leaning on the wall. The girl called him dirty. Everything felt loud, annoying, and pointless. He started to question where he really belonged. As he stumbled along, he bumped into someone. He looked up to see a small, weak girl in chains. In that moment, everything came back. He remembered getting drunk and buying a slave. Standing there in the alley, he sees her clearly now. She's thin, dirty, and covered in scars. Her ribs show. A deep wound marks her cheek. Her nails are peeled, her body a map of constant abuse. It's shocking that someone paid 3 gold coins for her, enough to live comfortably for 2 months. And that someone was him. Regret hits him hard. He asks if she remembers the slave trader, and they go back together. Harris, now sober and desperate, explains the situation and offers to pay to return her. He's trying to get a refund on a human life. The trader shrugs. He'll only refund 10 silver coins, a fifth of what Harris paid. The trader claims she's worthless. Keeping her costs money. If she dies, it's a loss. Then he adds the final horrifying detail. If he takes her back, she'll likely be sold to a show house, a place where children are used in brutal performances, hunted by ogres for the entertainment of the rich. Harris is horrified. The trader just shrugs. It's Harris's choice. Unable to leave her to that fate, Harris walks away with the girl. He's stuck. He just bought a responsibility he never wanted and cannot afford. Responsibility often begins not with a grand gesture, but with a simple need. They stop at a fountain. Harris washes his face, the cold water a sharp slap of reality. He gives her his mug to drink and clean up. She quietly obeys. As he watches her, he reflects on how suddenly he's become responsible for someone. Now penniless, he still wants to help her. When she finishes washing, she returns the mug with a small smile. Her face looks better cleaned. Her stomach growls. She tries to hide it, but he offers her food. She hesitates, unsure, then accepts and eats quickly. Tears fall as she eats. She tries to wipe them, but can't stop. This small act of kindness is so foreign, it breaks her. Harris feels sympathy grow inside him. After she finishes, he decides to take care of her. If she's going to stay with him, she at least deserves health and decent clothes. He even thinks maybe waiting for her to grow into a proper woman isn't such a bad idea. It's a dark, unsettling thought that shows just how far from a hero he really is. Gently, he asks for her name. She softly says it's Tiana. Harris introduces himself. He calmly tells her that from now on, he will be her master. But as he says it, a new problem occurs to him. He can't care for her alone. To save Tiana, Harris has to face the one thing he's been avoiding, the judgment of his peers. He leads her through the busy streets, ignoring the judging stares of passers-by who notice her injured condition. He brings her straight to the temple. There, they are greeted by Elia, the priestess, the same one he'd been thinking about at the bar. She seems surprised to see him, casually mentioning he missed the celebration. Elia is a priestess who also serves as a healer, often joining dungeon parties. Though clearly uncomfortable, Harris briefly explains Tiana's situation. He points out her visible scars and mentions concerns about her posture and possible broken bones. Elia's demeanor changes. She gently takes Tiana's hand and asks if Harris was the one who hurt her, living up to his reputation as a thief. The prejudice is so thick he could choke on it. Tired of the constant misjudgment, Harris says nothing. He just clenches his fist as Elia and the temple staff whisper and glare around him. But Tiana immediately defends him. With tears in her eyes, she speaks up. She talks about how he gave her his cloak and his food and how he would never hurt her. Her words shock both Harris and Elia into silence. The person he just bought, the one he barely knows, has just defended his honor more than anyone ever has. How quickly a false assumption can shatter. Realizing her mistake, Elia sincerely apologizes. She promises to take responsibility for Tiana's care and leads her into the temple's inner rooms. Elia gently asks her name, which Tiana gives shyly. As Elia helps her undress and begins cleaning her wounds, she warns that it might sting, but explains it's necessary. While treating her, Elia reflects on how wrong it is to judge someone by appearance or profession. She asks how Tiana ended up with Harris. Tiana quietly tells her story. How her father was killed by monsters, and she was eventually sold, enduring years of pain and mistreatment. Despite it all, she says she's thankful Harris bought her, because he treated her well and made her feel safe. This is the core of it. Tiana isn't naive. She just understands that Harris's flawed kindness is a world away from the active malice she's always known. Touched, Elia hugs her and says she's proud of her strength. She promises that things will get better. Meanwhile, Harris sits in silence. He's thinking about how Tiana defended him so openly, wondering why she trusts him so much. Elia soon returns and apologizes for the delay, telling him Tiana's treatment is done. When he sees Tiana, cleaned, healed, and wearing fresh clothes, he's speechless. He just thanks Elia. As Tiana steps away to fetch water, Elia shares more about her past. That, after her father died, her stepfather called her useless and eventually sold her, even though she had siblings. Elia asks Harris to take care of her. He agrees, though he looks uncertain. He's a broke scout, not a guardian. Seeing his hesitation, Elia admits she misjudged him. She offers him a rare amulet that allows free treatment at any temple, a gift worth 100 gold coins. Harris is shocked, but Elia says it's her way of saying thank you. She explains that he reminded her not to judge someone by their role. She also tells him there's no charge for Tiana's care. He muses internally that today is filled with misunderstandings. Just then, Tiana returns, sensing the odd atmosphere. The journey home is the first true test of this new, fragile relationship. Later, the two leave the city together. Harris tells her the trip to his home will take 7 days. He asks her not to fall behind. Feeling free for the first time in years, Tiana happily agrees. She even gives a little hop when he checks on her leg. Curious, she asks about his job. Harris explains that he's an adventurer. He takes on various tasks like delivering messages and helping with dungeon work, admitting it's not as glamorous as warriors or mages. But Tiana is still impressed. Harris, slightly embarrassed, looks away and says he only uses his sword when needed. As the sun sets, he decides they'll camp for the night. She nods, ready for rest. But suddenly, Harris tenses. Without a word, he lifts Tiana and hides behind a tree. She tries to ask what's happening, but he signals for silence. His eyes are locked on a group of ogres moving through the woods, dangerously close. Tiana shivers as Harris stays completely still, hoping the creatures pass without noticing them. Harris sees 3 ogres. They haven't noticed him yet. He thinks about hiding, but a sudden sniffing sound nearby puts him on alert. One ogre steps out from the shadows, showing its sharp teeth and moving closer. The ogres catch the scent of a human girl. Their twisted intentions become clear. The hunt is on. When running is no longer an option, a scout must become a hunter. Harris grabs Tiana and runs. She tries to speak, but he tells her to stay quiet. While running through the forest, he knows that facing 3 orcs alone would be possible. But with Tana, it's too dangerous. He also knows that orcs aren't fast, but they're stubborn. With a strong sense of smell, they can track their prey for days. Tiana, out of breath, calls to him. Harris looks back, but she stays silent. Then she asks him to leave her behind. She thinks staying might help him get away. Harris stops, shocked by her words. She's been so brutalized by life that she sees herself as disposable. She reaches for his arm, but he pulls away, telling her what the orcs would do if they caught her. With tears in her eyes, Tiana says she doesn't want him to die because of her. Not again. She apologizes for not being able to repay him and begs him to leave her. Harris stays quiet. He closes his eyes and lets her words sink in. Then he takes a breath and shakes off the doubt. He says he's not running blindly. There are useful things around the area. It's dark now. Even though he isn't a warrior, he's still an adventurer. He knows how to survive. With a small smirk, he draws his blade. He doesn't fight with power. He fights smart. This is his element. Tiana looks at him with quiet awe. The forest floor now becomes a chessboard. In the forest, the orcs become tense. They sense something nearby. One of them sees a dress hanging in a tree and assumes the girl is close. A simple but effective lure. As it steps forward, a rope trap pulls it into the air. The orc groans in pain, another one goes for the dress and is slammed by a swinging log. Realizing they've been tricked, the orcs shout angrily, arguing over who gets the girl. Harris watches in silence from the shadows, ready to strike. He wipes his face and quietly calls to Tiana. She replies softly that she's okay. She explains that a tree fell when she dodged it and made a noise. He's relieved and tells her to put her cloak back on. Tiana praises him for what he did, but he brushes it off. She admits she thought they wouldn't make it. Harris explains that facing all 3 orcs head-on would have been too risky, but taking them down one by one worked. Their strong sense of smell made them dangerous, but their poor eyesight gave him an edge. He says the hardest part was distracting them and making the first move. Then he thanks Tiana. He says her clothes helped pull the plan off. He jokes about how awkward it was when she asked him to take off his clothes, then hands her food and tells her to rest. She smiles and agrees. He just proved that a scout's brain is deadlier than a fighter's brawn. After surviving the journey, they finally arrive at the destination. But is it a home? After having food and resting, they head out. Harris points out the town ahead and tells Tiana it's Norn, their new home. When they arrive at the house, he says they've reached it. But Tiana pauses, quietly, shaken by something about the place. For her, a house has never been a safe place. Inside, she's surprised to see how dusty everything is. It's the den of a man who never expected to share it. Harris tells her he's going out for a while and asks her to handle things in his absence. He warns her not to touch the chest in one of the rooms. She nods, saying she understands and wishes him a good day. At the Norn Adventurers Guild, Harris submits a certificate of conquest for the 5th tier dungeon. The staff confirms it will be registered as an official achievement. He also places a bag on the counter and asks for the reward for the monsters he defeated. The staff opens the bag and is surprised to find orc ears. Harris just confirms with a silent nod. He's not one to brag. As he waits, someone nearby makes a comment about monster hunting. Harris replies, "It's the same as always." Later, a familiar shopkeeper greets him warmly. Harris hands over an earring for repair. The shopkeeper notes it's a bit old but still nice and says he'll replace the damaged parts. Harris agrees. Surprised, the shopkeeper remarks that it's rare for Harris to bring in accessories. But Harris brushes it off, asking him not to pry. The shopkeeper laughs, saying it'll cost about 3 copper coins. He jokes that he can't fix Harris's unfriendly attitude. Harris tells him to leave him alone and says he'll return for it tomorrow. What is the difference between a house and a home? Harris is about to find out. When he gets home, Tiana quietly welcomes him at the door. Harris stops in surprise. The house is completely clean. Everything is arranged neatly and shining with care. Tiana, trained only to serve, has defaulted to the only value she knows: hard work. Diana explains softly that she cleaned it all herself. Harris says he's just surprised. She quickly invites him to sit, calling him master, then rushes off to bring his meal. Still processing the change, Harris softly repeats the word meal to himself. Tiana prepares a simple dish with dried meat from their journey and herbs with root vegetables from the garden. Plants Harris had mistaken for weeds. As he eats, he pauses in shock. It's delicious. He compliments her, calling her a good cook. Overwhelmed, Tiana hides her face and tries not to cry. Harris tells her to sit and eat with him. She hesitates, but he reassures her. He casually asks for a second helping. Tiana brightens with joy. She's finally done something right. When she asks if he wants to rest in bed, Harris says he needs a bath first. She nods and says she'll prepare it right away. Harris smiles quietly as she rushes off. Soon after, Tiana calls out that the bath is ready. Harris, touched, prepares to bathe. Just as he begins washing, he hears her voice from behind the screen. She shyly steps forward and offers to wash his back. This is where things get complicated. She's mimicking the kindness she received at the temple, but the context is dangerously different. Harris is stunned and frozen. Tiana nervously asks if she's bothered him. Harris calmly says no, thinking he should make sure she eats more. She smiles, relieved, and reminds him to hurry before the bathwater cools. While gently washing his back, Tiana recalls how comforting it felt being cleaned at the temple and wishes to offer that same kindness to him. Harris asks if Elia had done that for her, and Tiana nods cheerfully. He stays silent, slightly tense, but doesn't stop her. As her words linger, Harris drifts into a memory of Elia in battle, warning him to stay back as she stood firm, purifying demons. Tiana's quiet voice brings him back to the present. The contrast between the two women couldn't be more stark. A home is more than just a clean room. It's a shared space. Later that night, Harris tells her to take a bath too. She hesitates, but agrees softly. After bathing, she approaches him wearing his oversized clothes, shyly, noting that they're too big. She thanks him. He replies that she can't wear the same clothes forever. He places down his cup and says it's time for bed. Tiana wishes him good night and walks off, but instead of heading inside, she lies down on hay outside. Confused, Harris calls to her and tells her the bedroom is inside. When he finds her, she apologizes and asks if she should sleep in the barn. Harris sighs. He tells her the bed is small, but they'll share it. He insists, saying it'll be colder at night and it's not worth getting sick over. Tiana quietly thanks him and slowly sits on the edge of the bed. She asks if she can lie down, then notices he isn't using a blanket. She asks about it, and Harris says it's all they have for now. The typical adventurer, hardened to discomfort. Worried, Tiana covers him with a blanket. She reminds him this isn't a dungeon and he should take care of himself. The dynamic has just been inverted. The person he's supposed to be protecting is now caring for him. She sits beside him and quietly hopes he can rest properly. She wishes him a peaceful night. Lying together, she softly says she had a peaceful day thanks to him. Harris, surprised by all she did, admits he didn't expect it and thanks her. She then confesses she's not good at sewing. She believes no one would marry her because she's a slave. He tells her that she doesn't need to be perfect right away. She can learn. If she can't make clothes, she can visit a tailor. It's simple. No one has ever told her that before. Problems for her were failings, not obstacles to be solved. Harris thinks he might need to shop tomorrow, but Tiana quickly offers to go. He asks if she'll be okay alone. She says yes, then suddenly realizes she doesn't know where the shop is. Half asleep, Harris tells her he'll draw a map in the morning. She quietly agrees, curling under the blanket beside him. As Harris wishes her good night, Tiana smiles gently and softly replies in the quiet warmth of the bedroom. The next day, Harris's solution for Tiana's independence hits its first snag. In the market, Harris tells Tiana that the area is full of shops, so there's no way to get lost. Feeling a bit guilty, she apologizes for making him come along. He reassures her not to worry and admits he was too trusting. When Tiana looks at the map and realizes she can't read it, she feels embarrassed about struggling with such a basic task. Harris calmly reminds her that she just needs to learn sewing, reading, and writing one step at a time. Motivated, Tiana smiles and says she'll try her best. Harris points out where she should buy ingredients for a Morirana dish while he heads elsewhere. She nods and leaves confidently. Harris watches her quietly, wondering if she'll really be okay. Tiana enters the shop and politely greets the vendor, who welcomes her and asks where she's from. Tiana hesitates, then says she's under Harris's care. The vendor recalls Harris as the adventurer from the hills and asks if adjusting has been hard. Tiana says it was rough before she came to Norn and mentions being nearly attacked by orcs. The vendor, surprised, asks if Harris saved her. Tiana smiles and nods, explaining that he scared the orcs, split them up, and defeated them with ease. Harris, listening nearby, hides his face in embarrassment. His tactical retreat and desperate traps are being retold as a heroic epic. Tiana excitedly praises him, while Harris quietly denies it. She adds that he gave her lots of good food and kept checking on her. The vendor is touched. Tiana has unknowingly become Harris's best public relations agent. The vendor mentions how Harris even praised Tiana's cooking. She then smiles and says she'll cook something tasty for him again, and Tiana happily agrees. Since Harris drinks, the vendor suggests making something with a stronger flavor. Tiana shows the pouch and asks if it's enough for tomorrow too. The vendor seems unsure if it's even enough for one day. She tells Tiana that once she gains a bit more weight, she'll look even more charming. Tiana, encouraged, decides to work on her health. The vendor offers some healthy food and discounts some fruit. Harris quietly thanks her. His reputation in Norn just got a massive and slightly inaccurate upgrade. A new life requires new supplies, and Harris is about to learn the price of responsibility. He walks down the street and enters another shop. The shopkeeper greets him and says the earring is ready. Tiana enters, asking if it's Mr. Box's shop. Harris is surprised to see her, and the shopkeeper happily calls her over. He gently places the repaired earring on her. Tiana reacts quietly. Harris comments that it still looks a bit plain. The shopkeeper replies that it's nearly new. He adds that how a master treats a slave shows his worth, so there's no harm in making her look nice. As Tiana looks in the mirror, the shopkeeper guesses she wasn't even worth 10 gold coins. He reminds Harris he'll need a lot more things. He also warns that if Harris isn't careful, he'll go broke. He's not a carefree loner anymore. He can't drink and wander like before. Harris stands holding his head while Tiana quietly thinks about him. The reality of his new life is crashing down. Tiana hesitates about wearing something so expensive, but the shopkeeper tells her not to worry. He then tells Harris to go to the Adventurers Guild. He mentions that Jonathan hasn't looked well and they'll probably find a good job. The message is clear. If he wants to provide, he needs to work. Just as the need for money becomes critical, a new mission appears, but it's born from tragedy. At the guild, Harris asks if he's in the right place. The receptionist calls out to him and says his timing is perfect. He explains that the rookie party from yesterday's dungeon dive hasn't returned. They're sending a search party. This is the classic dark side of the adventurer life. Overconfidence meets a gruesome end. Harris is concerned. The receptionist admits he always warns people not to go too far down the stairs near the dungeon entrance, but maybe the rookies got carried away again. Just then, a mysterious girl steps forward. With a calm smile, she asks to join the search party. Harris and Tiana both stare at her in confusion. Who is she? And why does she look so sure of herself? A new mission means leaving his new life behind, if only for a day. Early in the morning, Harris assures Tiana not to worry. She quietly wishes him a safe trip as he leaves. She silently prays for his safety. After a long journey, the team finally reaches the dungeon entrance. Though Norn is nearby, the trip still feels long. As they prepare to enter, one member reminds the group to stay focused. The mysterious girl introduces herself as Gina. She's irritated that they can't recall the name of the person they're trusting. Compass introduces himself and the team, bowing politely. Harris makes a final check before entering. Their mission is to search for the missing rookie party. Start with the first floor and turn back if they find nothing. If the rookies went to the second floor, they're likely gone. All that can be done is recover their gear. The second floor is filled with threats like orcs, trolls, and even monsters from the fourth floor. Harris, ever the professional, remains calm, saying it should be fine. Someone suggests a rookie might have gone too deep out of overconfidence. Harris sighs, wondering if they should stop at the fourth floor. Gina then steps in. She calmly says she can use level 4 magic, surprising Harris. She insists they search the second floor. Even if it's too late, find the bodies and report back to the guild, because that's their job. It's a bold stance, and Harris, the cynic, finds himself being lectured on duty by this new mage. The dungeon dive begins, and the difference between talk and skill becomes clear. In the dungeon, one swift attack drops a goblin. Gina notes that Harris is better than she thought. The condescension is subtle, but it's there. Harris shrugs. He reflects on how the goblins could have wiped out a rookie team. He points out there's a missing person report and no telling what might happen. Gina agrees. They can't let their guard down. They find no clues at first, but then someone spots a chest. Time for the scout to do his job. He quickly opens the chest while Gina hands him a torch. She observes that he must be used to this, that his experience shows. She defends him when others act rudely. Compass grows suspicious of the untouched treasure. He thinks the rookies may have skipped the first floor. A knight agrees. Harris suggests heading to the second floor. And suddenly, he senses danger. He signals everyone to stay quiet. He sees 2 demon wolves ahead. They haven't noticed the group, but there's no other way. Compass believes Gina could take down a wolf with a single shot. Harris agrees. Though irritated by the pressure, she acts quickly, freezing one with a powerful spell. Suddenly, more wolves attack. The knights are caught off guard, but Gina freezes another while Harris jumps in. The battle turns in their favor. With only one injured wolf left, she calmly steps forward to finish it. One member notes that while 3 of them struggled with one wolf, Harris handled the rest alone. He downplays it. It's just experience. He thanks Gina for her earlier help, which weakened the enemies. The scout and the mage have just proven they are the core of this team. But competence can hide a critical flaw. Harris questions her choice of spell. Icebreak. It's not effective against wolves. Fire would have worked better. This is the scout's mind, always analyzing. Gina explains that Icebreak is her strongest spell. He asks what she means. Gina admits ice is the only offensive magic she has. This changes everything. She's not a versatile mage. She's a glass cannon with a single, powerful bullet. All that confidence is built on a very narrow foundation. Harris apologizes for not knowing and says they should move on. As they continue, Gina stops. She asks about something ahead. She suddenly freezes when she sees a man. Harris notices her reaction. She senses something is wrong. As they move closer, it's revealed. The bodies, deformed and unsettling. The search is over. Finding what you're looking for is sometimes the worst possible outcome. The team discovers the rookie party's bodies. Torn beyond recognition, Naruna, shaken, covers her mouth, realizing they are too late. Harris admits he expected it, but finds the reality far worse. They can still identify faces and genders, confirming the victim count. Gina, nauseous, asks to step away. Harris allows it, warning her not to go far. The mage who can cast level 4 magic can't handle the gruesome reality of failure. He suggests matching each body to the guild records. Compass takes the task. Once confirmed, they will collect belongings and bury the bodies. Encountering a demon wolf on a first dungeon run is called bad luck, but Harris firmly disagrees. The wounds are too few for wolf attacks. They were eaten after death. Examining a corpse's hand, Harris realizes something important. A guild member finishes checking. Harris asks if that's all the bodies. The answer is yes. Meanwhile, Gina moves through a narrow corridor, gripping the wall as nausea hits. The air feels heavy. Shame burns as she recalls her earlier arrogance. She decides she will apologize once they return. Her steps freeze when she spots someone ahead. Her eyes widen before a scream bursts out, drawing Harris and the others. They rush toward her and find a swarm of snakes blocking the path. Harris recognizes the bite marks from earlier. He identifies them. Ice snakes. These are the real killers. Panic spreads. One member shouts. Another cries out in pain, another yells to retreat. The team breaks. In the chaos, the one who stays calm is the one who leads. Harris pulls the bitten girl Gina to safety, urging her to run. They race through the dungeon until they finally burst into daylight. Harris has bites on his neck. He says it won't kill him right away, but Gina suddenly points out a snake inside his clothes. Alarmed, he reacts as it slithers out, only for her to strike him in reflex. She apologizes quickly, saying it was instinct. Harris notices multiple bite marks on her, some are near her heart. He realizes she won't survive the journey to Norn alone. With only one antidote between them, he warns her that without it, treatment will be costly. He offers it for 2 gold coins with 10% yearly interest. The scout is also a businessman. Gina, a magician born June 3rd in the year of the chicken, formally vows to repay the debt. Holding the antidote, Harris decides to head to the temple for treatment. He tells her to report to the guild. She smiles, saying she owes him, but he replies that his payment is already settled, and he tells her to forget about it. The thief just saved the proud mage's life and proved that in a real crisis, wits, experience, and a level head are more valuable than all the magic in the world.